Huge thank you to Jessica Morales here at Vieira's Vision, 2528 Mahoning Avenue. Jess, thank you for everything that you've done for the Chris Gunther Show, for the city, and for the Chris Gunther Show recap. If you guys need any pictures taken, make sure that you contact Jessica Morales right now, or you can just come see her right here at Vieira's Vision at 2528 Mahoning Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio. The question that I've been asked all year, who are your top 5 interviews? So here we go. Tonight I'm going to reveal the top 5. Starting out number 5, DJ Kid Capri. So I get invited to cover the Cincinnati Music Fest, and it is by far one of the greatest fests I believe I've ever been to. Getting a chance to go down there and network with so many people, seeing our people, it's African Americans coming together, celebrating fashion and music and things of that nature is just incredible. So the press conference is the very first thing, and that's how the fest always gets started. And DJ Kid Capri was at the press conference, and I saw him walk in, and all I could think was, I've got to get an interview with DJ Kid Capri some kind of way. Later on that night, DJ Kid Capri is doing his set, and he is vibing with the crowd. He is shaking hands, taking pictures, and I'm like, man, this is cool. Well, his manager was on stage with him. And as his manager is on stage with him, I write on the little note section in my phone, I asked him a question, and I asked, is he going to be talking to the press after? And his manager was like, yeah, bro, just meet us on the 3rd floor. So immediately I go to the 3rd floor, but security was not letting anybody pass the 3rd floor. They sent me downstairs. They didn't even think I was a real media outlet, even though I had my camera and I had my mic. They said no. Well, DJ Kid Capri's manager was actually looking for me so we could all go into the 3rd floor together. But I was a little bit too anxious and I went by myself, and that's how I got rejected. Well, as I'm walking down the stairs, DJ Kid Capri's manager sees me. And we all walk upstairs together, and he told security, no, don't worry, they're a part of the team. I'm like, all right, bet. So as I'm outside, getting my stuff set up, I walk into DJ Kid Capri's dressing room. And he's just sitting on the couch, drinking water, just getting his mind right. And as we do the interview, I could just sense, this guy is just really an iconic person, but he is extremely humble. He shook my hand on air, which that had never happened to me before. But even in that little interaction that we had, I'm like, man, this was so cool. The very next day, I saw DJ Kid Capri again, and his manager was there. I got a chance to kind of do some adventurous stuff. I'm walking around trying to see where the artists are going to be at, where their manager's going to be at, things of that nature. Well, DJ Kid Capri's manager remembered me. So that particular day, he saw me and was like, you coming with us tonight? So it's like, do I stay here in this press box or do I go hang out with DJ Kid Capri? Clearly, I went to go hang out with DJ Kid Capri. What is the feeling that you get when you look outside and see that the people continue to rock with you after all these years?
It's like I don't know, man. Can't really describe the feeling. When you up there, you just want to give them the best, and when you leave the stage, you just want to make sure that you left a good impression for them to want to even be interested in seeing you the next time. I love what I do, so I look at it as if I'm a fan in the crowd watching myself and how I would want to feel if I was out there watching myself. I was the one paying the ticket to see me. What I would want to feel like at the end of the night when I leave, and it's about feeling better than you did before you got there. So, I look at it like them. So I'm a fan of the music. I'm a fan of what I do, so I look at it like that.
Number 4, MC Lyte. MC Lyte is one of the greatest, if not the greatest female MC of all time. My good friend Terrell Vidal, who is the CEO of Too Deep Entertainment, I saw that he was bringing MC Lyte to Youngstown State. So I wanted to see if there was any type of way that we could set up an interview with her after her speech. And I get a chance to meet MC Lyte before anybody else, before any of the other outlets were there, any of the students. And she was so humble, just very nice. And she looked at me and was like, that's a nice suit and tie you got on. I'm like, thank you. And hey, when the greatest, female MC of all time gives you a compliment, that's one that you take and you say thank you. So we go downstairs and she does her speech. And one of the things that I love that MC Lyte said was, speak what you see until you see what you said. After her speech was over with, she's taking pictures with a lot of people. And here I am getting ready to interview one of the greatest female MCs of all time. So my nerves are through the roof, my hands are sweaty, my heart is pounding, but I prepared for this moment mentally, and I said, it's gonna happen. So we do the interview, and after we do the interview, she looked at me and was like, yo, kid, you're good. And I'm like, thank you. And one of the things that I admired just even about that was, she's done several interviews with other big name people. But the fact that she looked at me and was like, yo, kid, you're good, that showed me that, yo, this could be something very special. We do the interview. And after we do that, she walks outside. And it's very cold out, okay? It's like 10 degrees and temperature is like slowly dropping as we're walking. But she sees snow. And she was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get a picture with this snow. And as she says, I gotta get a picture with the snow, she looks at me and was like, yo, me and you should take a selfie. And I'm like, the greatest female MC wants to take a selfie with me. So you know what you do? You take a selfie with the MC. And after that, she said, good luck with everything and keep up, keep doing your work, keep grinding. I was like, thank you. And as I left there, all I could think was, I got so many compliments tonight, but the biggest compliment I got was with MC Lyte. The very next day, I dropped the interview. And once I dropped the interview, my phone literally would not stop ringing all day. People were calling me saying, man, you just got MC, that's phenomenal. That's what's up, man, keep doing your thing. And all I could think was, I appreciated the opportunity to interview her, but I also appreciated, that little seed that she planted in me. And hey, that was definitely something that I'll never forget. That's how MC Lyte got number 4 on the top 5 Chris Gunther show list.
Real quick, what made you decide to step away from the hip hop side and start to use more of your voice to influence people?
Oh goodness. Well, I guess it was that time when I lost my record deal. I actually walked away from a record deal to go into another one, and then the other one lost their distribution. And so at that point, I was like, what am I going to do next? I still want to talk to people. Let me write a book. So then I wrote a book, and I said, okay, well, after I wrote the book, then I started speaking. And so I've been to many colleges and universities across the nation, even South Africa. And so it's always been a mission of mine to just inspire people. So I just changed the method of how I did it. So I'll go from music and then books and then speaking and then music and then books and speak. I just mix it up.
Number 3, Chris Broussard. I was visiting my aunt and uncle back in 2011, and Chris Broussard came to preach for their church. I believe the church was a mega church in Cleveland, Ohio. So Chris Broussard comes to preach for the youth rally, and at that time he was with ESPN, and I watched him every single day from the time that he was chopping it up with people like LeBron James and people of that stature. So he's preaching, giving a powerful, inspirational message about how it's cool to be young and saved. And he was sharing a little bit of his testimony about how he even came to, Christ. So after he gets done, preaching and things of that nature, service is over with. And my uncle, who was friends with somebody that brought him down here, I met him at the church. And we got a chance to, chop it up about a lot of things. Well, anybody who knows anything about church will tell you when church is over with, you try and go get something to eat. So you go get something to eat, right? And as we're getting ready to, leave, my uncle pretty much got an invitation to go to dinner with Chris Broussard at Carrabba's. So we go to Carrabba's, and I am like in heaven at this point. And I'm asking him questions just about the NBA, covering the NBA, because I want to be a sportscaster. And there's no way that I could have a guy of his stature there without asking for an autograph. And I definitely did. So the next day comes, and Chris is actually speaking again, and he's at like an open gym type of setting. And my basketball team that I got picked up on that day, we were playing. So I'm playing ball in front of Chris Broussard. Now he doesn't remember this, but I do, because I was out there raining threes and crossing people up. But unfortunately, the refs cheated us, and that's why we didn't win. But regardless of it, so that's the background story how I met him. When I was in college, I got a chance to interview Chris Broussard. He called into my radio show back on Rookery Radio. And getting a chance to interview him was a dream come true, because here's a guy that, he had just left ESPN at that time. He was with Fox. And getting a chance to really get to, interview him, get a chance to get his perspective on a lot of things. We went back and forth about the Cavs and Golden State at that time, back when the Cavs had like LeBron and Kyrie and all those guys. But then we got a chance to talk about his relationship with Christ. And he was pretty much the same way that he was back when I first met him. Nothing had changed except the fact that he was from ESPN, he went to Fox Sports. But being a chance to, pick his brain on a lot of things was amazing. So after the interview was over with, Chris Broussard and I prayed for each other over the phone. And then he told me keep in touch as the years went on. I was like, man, perfect. Well, fast forward 2019, and I interviewed him back in college. That was in 2016. 2019, he is preaching for the church on the North Coast. And I got to give a huge shout out to Pastor Mario, who actually hit me up and let me know that Chris was coming in town. So I got a chance to go to I went to the service, and it was great. It was the Saturday sessions, and, he was the headliner and things of that nature. So after the session was over with, I got a chance to chop it up with him. And you know how some people, like I said, are just very humble and very down to earth, like MC Lyte and DJ Kid Capri? Chris Broussard was the exact same way. He was taking pictures with everybody, talking with everybody. So we do the interview, and I am just, at this point, I'm holding back a lot of crazy emotions, because here I am getting a chance to interview a guy that I've watched since high school. I interviewed him when I was in college over the phone, but to do a sit down, man, things like that don't happen every day. He thinks LeBron is the second greatest of all time. Well, he knows I disagrees with that, because I say Kobe is the second greatest of all time. But regardless of it, that's how I met Chris Broussard, and he's number 3 on my top 5. Would earning credibility be the best advice you give to those up-and-coming journalists or sports reporters like myself?
Yes, and you do that by reporting. I covered high school sports. I covered college sports. I covered the NBA, obviously, for many years. And so that's how you gain credibility. Because, and to be honest, too, you learn stuff you don't even know you don't know.
Number 2, Jess hilarious. Jess was one of the sweetest people I've ever interviewed, one of the sweetest people I've met. Here's the story on how I got Jess. So I had seen she was coming to the Cleveland Improv, and I shot my shot with her managers months in advance. At that time, I was coming off of the Cincinnati Jazz Fest. At that time, I was, slowly starting to build up things. So I just wanted to see what can happen. Honestly, I forgot that I even sent a request into her manager, because, they get stuff every day. And I really did not think they were going to pick me. So I'm at home. I just got done working out. I showered up the whole 9, and I left my phone on the couch. And my phone is going off. I got a text, and I recognized okay, this number does not look familiar, but I recognize when it's something important. And I got a chance to look at my phone, and Jess' manager texted me and was saying, hey, Chris, this is, I'm not going to say her name, but hey, Chris, this is so-and-so with Jess. And immediately I'm like, oh, snap, Jess with the mess, from Wild 'N Out, from Rel, from Def Comedy. I'm like, this is really Jess with the mess's people. So they hit me up and said that, hey, Chris, we got your message. We would love to do a sit down with you. And at that point, I'm like, I'm about to sit down with one of the hottest comedians in the game. I arrive an hour early, and I'm just sitting in the lobby. So I'm on my phone just, searching. And then this guy comes up to me, one of the biggest dudes I've ever met in my life. He was a combination of Terry Crews and Suge Knight, and he had a mask on. And then his voice was crazy deep, and he was like, come with me. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, let's just be real. I'm 5'6". This brother looked like he was at least 6'2", all right? And his, arms was big and diesel, and I'm like, there's no way I'm telling this dude no. And he knocks on the door, and as he opens up the door, Jess is sitting right there on the couch. And this lady, when I tell you, is just so chilled. She was, cooling out. And as I'm getting a chance to, do the interview with her, I'm setting up the camera, and she was asking me, things like how long had I been doing this? So we do the interview. And after the interview, it was just so much fun. I got a chance to make Jess laugh. The fact that I got Jess laughing, that gave me a lot of confidence to make people smile and things of that nature. So after the interview was over with, I got a chance to, really just feel man, I accomplished something. And that made me sit back and say, I know I have something special. Well, her people really enjoyed me. So what they did was they invited me to stay for the show. And man, let me tell you, that girl had everybody in that Cleveland Improv laughing so hard to the point where people was crying, laughing, and they just enjoyed it. And one of the things I enjoyed it was her transparency in her comedy, but her realness in her comedy too. And that was just an incredible time. After her set is over with, I go in the back and I thanked her again for allowing me to, chop it up with her. And, we take a picture and I told her thank you. I think it was like a few months later, she was in Pittsburgh. So I went up to Pittsburgh because I did an interview with Ha Davis and just as opening act, shout out to Desi. And when I got a chance to go up there, I wasn't going up there on no shady stuff or trying to just rub elbows with people. I went to genuinely show some support and do some work at the same time. And as Jess is coming off the stage, she looks at me and was like, "Oh my gosh, Chris, what's up? It's good to see you." And I'm more so just thankful that she actually remembered who I was. So that's the story how I met Jess Hilarious and why she is number 2 on the top 5. Actually, your top 5 comics, who are they?
Oh God.
Because you got Eddie, you got Richard, you got Bernie, you got Martin, you got Chris Tucker. So if you had to go your top 5, who would it be?
I don't even think I got 5. All right, now I got 5. All right, top Martin to this day. Second one, Chris Tucker. Third one, Cat Williams. Fourth, Bernie Mac. Fifth, Dave Chappelle.
Number 1, Michael Vick. One of the most exciting quarterbacks of all time. This guy has broken so many records. He's impacted the game. He gave hope to a lot of guys. And I think Vick is one of the most underrated and underappreciated quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. So Michael Vick was coming in town for the men's rally. And the men's rally is one of the greatest events I think this city has ever seen. So having Michael Vick come down here was like the icing on the cake. So I made a couple phone calls and I asked around and I wondered, did anybody have any possible contact information for the men's rally? And First Ward Julius Oliver, shout out to him. He actually hooked me up with a contact. Michael Vick was originally scheduled to come in town the day before the men's rally. And he and I were going to do a sit down about a lot of things. Well, Michael Vick ended up going back to wherever he was coming in from, and then he just flew in earlier that morning. And I must admit, I was very discouraged because I'm like, man, I was going to be the first one to do the interview with Michael Vick before anybody saw it, before 21 got a hold of him, before WFMJ and KBN, and I was like, man, but hey, everything worked itself out. So the day of the men's rally, I get there bright and early. I make sure I got my camera ready, got my mics ready, my lights, I'm ready to roll. And Michael Vick walks in and everybody just went like, oh my gosh, he's here. Now they didn't go crazy or go nuts because, you're trying to keep your composure. But me on the inside, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm about to meet the human cheat code. Like this brother has broken every record. He's made everybody think they can run. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to meet him. So I meet Michael Vick, we did the interview. And after the interview, the first thing he said was, bro, I like that suit and tie, man. He was like, this brother trying to show me up. In a sense, I'm thinking, hey, first impression is everything. So after that, we got a chance to take a picture, and he signed a notebook of mine. And it was in that moment that I knew that I had something special. Because Michael Vick even gave me props and was like, bro, you're good at what you do. And one of the things that I loved, even in that interaction that we had, was the down to earth, was the, just humbleness, just the humility that, Michael Vick carries, because even with him going through everything that he went through, to still be able to smile, to still be able to want to give back to people, and to be able to be somebody that came to Youngstown, Ohio, which most people, I think, truly forget that Youngstown at one point was a top 5 city, and most NFL players come from here. So the fact that, in my opinion, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time came down here was amazing. So that's the story how I interviewed Michael Vick.
We all know the adversity that, you faced on the field and off the field, but how did you overcome that?
I mean, grace of God. I mean, I couldn't have did it by myself, family, and the will to do it. I just, figured out what my priorities were, the things that I didn't do well, and the first chapter of my life, as I call it, and then what I wanted to do different in the second chapter. And, just tried to make sure that, each and every day I tried to accomplish something pushing towards that goal.